Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Battlestar Galactica Remembered. And today we're going to take another look at a weird and wacky Battlestar Galactica issue. And that issue, as you see in the title here, and it has persisted from the very beginning, are the Cylons, like these reptilian lizards, creatures, or are they robots? And so you'll see kind of why we have this two things, right? These, are they creatures? Are they robots? Obviously, as you go to the show, they are without a doubt robots, right? 100% robots. We even see Apollo telling Boxy the whole story about how the original creatures built the robots and the robots turned on their masters and took over, but they still call them Cylons, right? So to this day, the Cylons are robots. Even the Appearance leader, they make him look like an original Cylon, but he is still just a machine, right? As Baltar says, right? Machine leader. And so they're all robots. So now that's easy. This one has a pretty simple answer, actually. And okay, so then, well, why do we think of Cylons as actual creatures? Well, it goes back to the very beginning. The original vision of Glenn Larson was that Cylons were creatures. They wore armor and they had the light and the whole bit. And given the times of the late 1970s, when it got switched to a weekly show, once again, right, there's that whole thing. And not only that, but it was also put in the first hour of prime time. You couldn't have our heroes going around and shooting and killing these sentient, advanced kind of creatures every week. So they didn't like that. So they said, no, you got to make them robots. That you can destroy, blow up robots and all that. So they did. And so that was, again, one of the other profound changes that they had to make because of the television, right? To come out on ABC TV. However, I have, there's this one interesting kind of thing with that. And that is that, if you want to get, I guess, closest to the original vision of Glenn Larson, what would Battlestar Galactica have looked like as that miniseries? Remember, we talked so much about that miniseries. But then they changed it to the weekly series. Well, what would the mini-series have looked like? Well, I got a little bit of homework for you all. If you want to find out, guess what you can do? To this very day, the one thing that you can do, if you want to kind of look at that original vision of Glenn Larson before all the changes were made, read the Battlestar Galactica novelization. That's right, because the novel had a deadline, and you had all the printing and the distribution of it and all that. Anybody who's ever written a novel, you got to have a pretty firm deadline well ahead of publication date. And that was September of 78 when it had to come out. So Robert Thurston, the author of the Saga of a Star World novelization, he was trying to incorporate some of the changes they were making. He said so. They were giving him the new pages of what they were changing and all that. But there comes a point in time where, the deadline has to be a firm deadline and he has to turn in the manuscript, right? So that's it. So the novel has it's a lot closer to that original vision of Glenn Larson. For example, Baltar is executed in the middle of the novelization. That was the original plan. The Cylons are creatures. That was the original plan. So it has a lot of that kind of stuff in it. So if you've ever wondered what the original Battlestar Galactica was kind of going to be like in the miniseries, read the novel. If you've never read it, I strongly suggest you get a copy. I'm sure they're only a couple of bucks by now. And if you haven't read it in a while, read it again. It's a great read. And I'm going to be doing a video featuring the differences between the novelization and what actually ended up airing. And it's quite eye-opening. It's pretty interesting, the changes that they did make. But anyway, that's just a little suggestion. If you want to do that, that is a pretty cool thing. Read the novel, and there you go, right? So that's what happened. The Cylons were originally going to be actual creatures, but they changed it. They didn't want to kill off a bunch of, sentient beings, so they changed them to robots. But to this day, once again, and we'll be talking about the novel quite a bit, especially in some of these issues that we're going to get to. Why? Because the novel preserves a lot of the original intent and the original scripts and stuff that Glenn Larson envisioned for the original miniseries. So if you want to see what's closest to that original idea, read the novel. But anyway, hope we've cleared that up. Long live Battlestar Galactica, and I will see you in the next video.